Viewers, now quickly shifting focus from the war about the Pune Porsche case hearing that's ongoing in the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court has granted bail to the father of one of the minors involved in the Pune Porsche crash blood sample swapping case. Now, the bail was granted by a bench of Justice B.V. Nagar and Justice Ujjal Bhoyan. The court has noted that the accused has already spent around 18 to 22 months in custody. The court, in fact, ordered the release of the subject over conditions to be imposed by the trial court. In fact, it also said that the prolonged detention cannot continue when the trial has not progressed significantly. That's the first statement that we're getting in from the Supreme Court. In fact, now a bail has been granted to Vishal Agarwal, who is the father of the minor allegedly driving the luxury car Porsche that killed two young engineers on the 19th of May 2024 in Pune. The horrors of the case completely echoing inside Supreme Court as the court now grants bail to Vishal Agarwal. In fact, a bench of Justices B.V. Nagratna and Ujjal Bhoyan granted bail to the accused's father, saying that he's already spent about 22 months in jail and that a similar accused in a similar case has been granted relief. In fact, joining me live is my colleague Sarthak to get us more updates. Sarthak, speak to us about the recent that we're hearing from the Supreme Court. A bail has been granted to the father of the minor who was driving the car. In fact, this is not a sole case of just killing two young engineers. It's also about blood sample swapping. Sarthak.
Well, yes, today the Supreme Court granted bail to the father of one of the minors who goes by the name Vedant Agarwal. He was directly involved in the Pune Porsche crash blood sample swapping case. The father was accused of swapping the blood sample during the course of the investigation. The bail was granted by the bench of Justice B.V. Nagaratna and Justice Ujjal Bhoyan.
Yeah.
The court noted while granting bail to the accused was that he had already spent around 18 months in custody, and the court orders that the release is subject to the conditions to be imposed by the trial court at this point. The allegations on the father were of swapping blood samples after the crash, and investigators claimed that the blood samples of the minors in the car were replaced with the samples of adults to hide alcohol consumption or the evidence that could have been traced of alcohol consumption in the blood sample of the accused. The Supreme Court, while passing the order, made some observations and remarked that the parents must exercise control over their children, especially in such incidents involving juveniles. However, it clarified that any such observation should not prejudice the trial. The basic ground of granting bail to the accused's father, who was also an accused in this particular case, was that the accused had already spent around 18 months in custody, and the trial did not take place at a pace that it should have. And on that particular ground, the accused has been given bail in this case. Let me remind the viewers, the incident occurred on 19 May 2024 in Pune's Kalyani Nagar, where a 17-year-old allegedly driving a Porsche under the influence of alcohol crashed his car into a motorcycle. There were two young IT professionals, Anish and Ashwini. These were the two IT professionals who died during the incident. The case sparked nationwide outrage after allegation emerged of evidence tampering and how the investigation has been prejudiced. So, however, at this point, what we know of the court has found that the accused father has been in custody for a very long time, and on that specific ground, he has been granted bail. Over to
Right,
you.
Sarthak. Right, Sarthak. Thanks very much for bringing this entire thing to round for us. In fact, viewers now quickly shifting focus. At least 7 workers were killed in an accident during excavation work at a residential project of Signature Global along the Delhi-Jaipur highway on Monday. Now, sources say the wall suddenly collapsed during the ongoing excavation work, burying several workers. Who is responsible and who is to be held accountable for the death of these workers? Here's a full report. Take a look.